welcome everybody to episode number 83 of the Bases and Brews podcast. I am Ben, that is Brandon. This is our weekly podcast where we talk baseball, beer, other sports, and other alcohols sometimes. Welcome in. How are you doing this week?
I'm doing all right. It's been a long week.
Good. Yeah. Yeah.
How about yourself?
Uh, all right. Definitely glad I was off today and got to just sit around and relax all day.
Yeah, that has been kind of nice.
Yeah.
Although I have so
But
much stuff I still need to do.
I mean, same, but
It's never ending.
right. That's just being an adult. That's never gonna end.
I want to go back.
Yeah.
Why, as a kid, did
Uh,
we ever say we can't wait till we grow up? No.
right.
What you got on tap this
Yeah.
week?
So I am going back to. I think I drank it 2 weeks ago, but I never rated it, and that is the Fresh Kicks Hazy IPA.
Okay, I remember that one.
Man, got something in my throat. Uh, but yeah, no, it's a good one. But for whatever, because we didn't do the versus mode.
Yes.
We didn't go down in the Google Doc far enough to
To
remember
rate.
to rate our beers, but so yeah, I'll drink that one tonight, and I will rate it tonight. What do you got?
So I'm just drinking some wine actually tonight. Some
Classing it up.
cheap Stella Rosa, Stella Pink. It's basically like a kind of like a pink Moscato, kind of.
Like a rosé kind of.
Yeah, it's okay. It's cheap. I think it's like $6 a bottle. I get it for the lady, but I wanted
Honestly,
something light after this week. I didn't think it would be smart to
yeah.
drink anything too crazy.
Honestly, I've had expensive ones and I've had cheap ones, and honestly, most of the time I like the cheap ones more.
It's all the
There's
same.
exceptions, but yeah, a lot of wine you pay for the name over the
I don't know if I would agree with that. I've had some
no.
really good, like not like expensive wines, but like I don't know, maybe like $70 a bottle.
Yeah.
That was much better than like a
Okay. Well,
Bigfoot, you know.
you're well, okay. But you're also out in California where there's literally just nothing but wineries for miles.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah. All right. Let's get to the news for the week. We'll start in the NFL. Um, this was going into today, but this happened like Tuesday, I want to say. The Colts benched Matt Ryan, um, basically for the year. He was like a little dinged up, and they're like, "Yeah, we're not going to play you the rest of the season."
I mean, he wasn't playing very good. They're not good. What does it matter?
No,
Like,
yeah, it was,
let's be real.
yeah,
I am honestly
uh,
surprised they wanted to pick him up this year.
yeah, it was too, and they traded for him too. Like they lost draft picks for
I don't
Matt
think they
Ryan.
lost much though, if I remember right.
I can look it up, but yeah, I want to say it was like a second and a fourth or something like that.
Yeah, so that doesn't surprise me, to be honest, that he got
Oh
benched.
God,
Ring,
apparently
ring.
I have an alarm to go off. But yeah, no, I'm more surprised he got benched because they really had nobody else.
I
Um,
mean, maybe tank for that number one spot.
they're up there.
Uh, so,
Okay, 2022 third rounder. I guess that's it. They just gave up a third round pick for him.
yeah, that's nothing. That's basically for free.
Yeah, and whoever they replaced him with, I forget his name, but he didn't throw a single touchdown pass today.
I mean,
So
I don't know what
yeah,
else I expect from them right now.
yeah. Let's see, how do you not have quarterback on your depth chart? Oh, there it is. Sam Ellinger. Also, they have Nick Foles. Why is Nick Foles not starting?
Maybe he's hurt.
Maybe.
Although then again, it's Nick Foles. He's only good every, I don't know, 5 or 6 games.
Man, he didn't have a this dude didn't have a terrible day. He did fumble once, but he went 17 of 23 for 201 yards. No touchdowns, no picks.
I mean, that's not
Not a
bad.
horrible day. I mean, the touchdowns would be nice to get, but
Even
uh,
one. Low yardage,
but
but a good completion percentage wise.
yeah,
Hmm.
we'll see. We'll see what they do. But yeah, the other big thing from the news from last weekend was Mike Evans and some referees. Did you see this?
No.
So basically, there's video of like Mike Evans coming off the field last week, and a couple referees like yell his name, and they're like running after him into the tunnel, and then they like hand him some paper, and he like writes stuff on it, and everyone's like, oh, they're like getting his autograph, which is illegal for referees to ask for autographs. Um, but I guess the story anyway is that they both went to Texas A&M, and somehow Mike Evans was looking for a golf coach, and this dude knew like an A&M grad who was a golf coach. That's
Mm,
the story they're telling anyway.
you gotta love it.
So, but it was funny. But um, yeah, really quick before we move on from the NFL, there this year's NFL is nuts. Nothing is like it should be. I feel like.
Well, I mean, that's what happens when you have so many shifts in players. There's a lot of movement this year as far as big name players go.
Yeah, but I feel like even teams that didn't add anybody got are way better than they should be. The Jets are 5-3. The
It's really funny because
the
there's a couple things I said before the season that you clowned on me for that as of right now are not looking so stupid.
yeah,
Which I can sit back and enjoy. But yes, there are a lot of teams doing shit that nobody really expected them to do. The New
yeah,
York teams in general are all playing very
yeah.
well.
I think the Jets lost today. The Giants, I think, won today. Really, let's be real. The NFC East is way overperforming.
Right?
Eagles are 7-0. Cowboys and Giants are 6-2, and even the Commanders are 4-4. Like, at least three of those teams should have finished under 500. Vikings are 6-1, and the Packers are 3-4. Like, Lions are doing Lions things, 1-6.
Yeah, it's not too
They're
surprising.
holding down that division where it should be. Falcons are currently leading the NFC East after today at 4-4 over the Buccaneers, the Saints, and one of your picks to be better was the Panthers. That one's not looking great for you.
I had a lot of faith in a couple of people that just one that's not even there anymore. Although I'm not mad
Oh,
at
the
that.
receiver,
No,
Anderson.
Christian McCaffrey.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he was one guy I was like, if he stays healthy and Baker's there and you get one or two receivers, I'm like, that's a solid offense. Yeah.
True.
Like that
Yeah.
Anderson's
Nope.
gone, Christian McCaffrey's gone, Baker's not even starting. Yeah, that's
DJ Moore is rumored to be gone pretty soon.
like that shit's a wrap. That was a
Yeah.
bad call.
We also talk about the fact we're halfway through the NFL season already. Like,
I
what
know,
the
right?
hell? Season's flying. But yeah, and then the NFC West is it's like almost upside down from where I thought it would be.
It's
Like,
crazy how bad
Seahawks are
it has been.
destroying people, and Niners looked real good today with McCaffrey.
Yeah, I figured they played them last week. I didn't watch the game today. I honestly forgot it was on. I thought it was on later. But last week they started, or they didn't start, but they played him like I think it was like 12 plays. I'm like, why are you even doing that? Like he was there for 2 days.
Because he's that good.
I mean, he didn't look terrible, but like that's just like asking
in
for
the
an
huddle,
injury in my opinion.
fair. Yeah, I guess it's he's already in condition. He's been playing, so it's like you go in the huddle, you call the play, and then you go, okay, you're getting the ball, and you're going between the right guard and the right tackle. Go.
Except for that's not how Shanahan offenses work. You would think so, but that's just not
Well,
what they
no, I
do.
get it, but you have to dumb it down for someone who's been there 2 days.
Yeah.
Like
So I
you don't
figured
put
this
him
week
in
he'd
for any of the you don't put him in for any of the trick plays or anything.
Yeah, I figured he would look a lot better this week after having like a full week with the playbook and actually being able
Yeah.
to see what the hell is supposed to happen and how it's supposed to look.
Today, first player since I think it was 2004 with a passing touchdown, rushing touchdown, and receiving touchdown in one game.
McCaffrey?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see that. I'm definitely gonna have to go back and rewatch the game.
Yeah, he threw a touchdown, like a 30-yard touchdown pass. It's nuts. But anyway.
I'm telling you, when Trey Lance gets back, if he's even like 3/4 of what people think he's gonna be, like that offense could be scary.
Yeah. I know the first game was a wash because they played in a monsoon, but what Trey Lance showed in his little bit this year did not excite me for what he can do.
No, but I also think
It's very limited.
well, that and he's got so little experience. There's gonna be ebbs and flows. It's gonna take him, I think, a little bit, to get in the swing of it. Probably half a season or so, and you just gotta ride with those bad games. You just can't give up on it. You gotta trust it. And I think he'll be like a Justin Fields. Maybe give him a year, and he'll develop into something that is good.
I'll tell you what, Justin Fields. I got to watch the Bears game because they were playing the Cowboys today, so that was the game on down here.
Oh, okay.
And man, if he had an offensive line, what he could do!
I'm telling you,
he's literally as soon as the ball's snapped, he's running. It's like Mahomes in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, where like as soon as he had the ball, there was a guy in his face. It's awful. But
you know what
all
division is disappointing though? Before we leave, is the AFC West.
Yeah, I mean, the top's not bad, but yeah, the Raiders are a huge disappointment.
Well, the Broncos too.
The Broncos are a joke.
We talked about how that division was going to be like by far the best division with the best quarterback play, and it was going to be super tight. Yeah, it's not looking like that's going to be the case.
Russell Wilson he dropped off a cliff. I don't know what happened to him. Like he wasn't, he's not Russell Wilson of 7-8 years ago, but like he's not even Russell Wilson of last year. He's half of that.
He found that cliff that everyone said Tom Brady was going to fall off of 8 years ago.
It looks like Tom Brady might have fallen off that same cliff.
He finally caught it. He finally found it.
Rodgers, they're all falling off the cliff.
Bro, can I just say this is like an end of an era. This year, collectively, when you think about it, Russell Wilson, his team's not doing well at all.
Russell Wilson might not be what Russell Wilson was, but you're gonna see him for quite a while because he's under a 6-year contract.
Tom Brady is playing pretty bad for his standards this year. Aaron Rodgers is not looking the greatest, although I don't know how much you would put that on him and people dropping balls, but
he has a terrible receiving core.
You go to basketball and you have LeBron James having like the worst start to a season like of his career.
Is LeBron playing that bad, or is it just the team?
He's not playing like terrible, but like your team is dragging you down.
Oh, right.
And then you look at because you can't carry anymore, so you're seeing like the definitive like decline. Because earlier he would have been able to carry.
Yeah.
At least, every once in a while. Like right now he can't carry at all. Then you have baseball. You have so many people that are retired this last year that were like staples in the game for the last decade or two. You know what I mean? With Yadier Molina and Albert Pujols. So it's kind of an interesting end of an era type year.
Yeah. I was just glancing at LeBron's stats. He's like literally on his career average for everything except rebounds are higher. But like points, assists, blocks, steals, like everything's right on his career average. So yeah, it is. I mean, granted, the last couple of years he's been way over his career average, but he's not playing that bad. It's just
He's
his
also though
he just
getting a
doesn't
lot
have
of empty
anything.
stats because his team's behind a
Sure,
lot this year so far.
right. That's definitely fair. But
Because
all right,
he's
let's
like the
shift.
only thing on the Lakers that's any remotely good at all right now.
Yeah, let's shift over to basketball while we're talking about it. And actually, before we get to the next story, I actually didn't put one on here, but LeBron did break another record. It was most 20-point games in a career. He broke yesterday. It's like 1,300 20-point games or something.
Okay.
Um, I don't
Or
know. I didn't even realize that was a stat that was kept, but
I mean, you could make a stat out of anything at this point.
I
So
mean that's true. But yeah, on less good news, Brittany Griner still in jail in Russia, and her appeal of her 9-year sentence was declined. So she's gonna be there another 9 years unless the government does something about it. But
something will be done. They'll keep appealing.
it will.
They'll find a way. There's no way she's gonna spend all 9 years out there. I
They'll
find that hard
do.
to believe.
They've talked already about doing like we have Russian prisoners in the U.S. or something, and doing a prisoner transfer and basically swapping prisoners, which is probably why they declined her sentence because she's free, then
Right.
they can't get those people back.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So that it sucks. We've been kind of keeping up to date on this, and it just keeps getting worse.
Yeah, that's not good.
All over a vape pen with some THC juice in it,
Teach you not to break rules in other countries.
especially ones like Russia.
Well, especially ones that the our country is not exactly on the best of terms
Right.
with.
That's kind of
Like
what I
it's different if you're
meant.
going to somewhere where that we have allies with and
If
stuff
you're going
like
to
that.
like England or France or Canada, like whatever, they'll get you back.
Yeah,
But
you may be a pain in the ass, but like you'll most likely be fine. You don't do it
yeah,
in a country where we're not on good terms with.
right.
I think that's like
As
the
they're going
biggest
to
mistake.
war.
Yeah.
But yeah, so hopefully something gets done about it. But yeah. All right. Another record broken in the NBA. Chris Paul, third player to hit 11,000 assists in his career. The other two being John Stockton and Jason Kidd. Um, Not a surprise. I mean, he's
Yeah.
been in the league, what, 21, 22 years?
I forget exactly. But either way, that's a very much more longevity stats.
All of those like career stats are longevity. I mean, nobody playing a short career is hitting 11,000 assists.
When he is like the prototypical point guard, you're not probably not going to see a whole lot of guys get to that from here on out. I'm sure
Yeah,
there will be a
that's fair.
few, but it's not going to be very. It's going to be very rare you see people get even close to that.
He's played 18 years, it looks like. Yeah, 18 seasons. So, yeah,
Okay.
Chris Paul is one of the best players over those 18 years. Really, I mean, he's dropped off a little, but he's still a high level player in the league. But yeah, that's pretty good company to be in. Anytime you're alone with John Stockton and Jason Kidd as a point guard, that's you did something right.
I don't know. Jason Kidd gets a lot of disrespect.
Now as a coach, I don't know how much he got his. Everyone knew he was a great point guard when he played. He just couldn't score.
Yes, it's true.
But you didn't have to as a point guard when he played either. So,
Nope. Your job was completely different than it is these days.
all right, let's get into this one. Uh, I don't know how much you saw about this, but basically, so Kyrie Irving is in some shit again. Basically came out and put out a bunch of anti-Semitic tweets and yeah, started. There's some like anti-Semitic movie that's out that he was like quoting and like posting pictures of and stuff, and then like saying he agreed with it, and it's God,
Did you
he's
see
just
his?
so dumb.
Did you see his interview after the game yesterday? I think it was
Where he like doubles down on it,
where
like
he's like,
goes
"Well,
back and forth with the one reporter,
yeah,
and
yeah."
yeah,
That I thought that was a bad look. He's always been a character. I saw a funny meme about this where it was Kyrie just saw Kanye get out of like all of his endorsement stuff just by doing some
right.
anti-Semitic stuff. So he's gonna try to do the same. Uh,
I mean,
and it was funny, but at the same time, it's kind of sad because Kyrie's
yeah,
always had these fringe beliefs. Like, let's be honest, always.
oh, he's a weird guy, and yeah, he's never. Nobody's ever said he's a very smart person, but
So I don't know. I don't want to get too deep into it because I don't know a whole lot about like what the tweets actually said. All I know is that he like posted about the movie that was on
yeah,
Amazon, and that's what got people kind of upset. Which
that was a lot of it. And then he basically went. Fans called him out on those tweets, and then he started like going back and forth with fans in the comments and
mm, that's
doubling
never a good
down
idea.
on. They were like, "Hey, this is kind of not great for you," and he was like, "No, I stand by everything that I said."
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's
"Oh God." The NBA had to come out and like formally acknowledge his tweets and be like, "Yeah, we don't support this."
the
It's
owner
like,
of
well,
his team
duh.
had to come out and say something. Joe
Yeah.
Tsai came out and said something like shit.
Then apparently the Nets had a players only meeting yesterday, and like there was some yelling involved that was based around him too.
Bro,
And,
they're just nuking everything there.
somebody who could have been one of the best, and he's just now everywhere he goes, he's looked at as a bad teammate. He sabotages his own teams, and there's
Yeah.
no locker room chemistry.
Like, I don't know. I've never been in the position of power that he has with the
Of
platform
course,
he's got, nor will I probably ever. But I would imagine with that platform, you have to like understand that you don't have to compromise your beliefs, but maybe putting all of your beliefs out there is not necessarily wise.
right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can keep some things to yourself,
Yeah, like
but
it's called a private life, like for a reason. Like keep
yeah,
your opinions, some of those. But then again, if you want to bring awareness to it, and that's the whole point, then I guess that defeats everything I'm saying.
well, right, but that's not the awareness you want to bring to.
But maybe it is though
Oh,
for him. I can't say it is,
I
but like
guess, but
maybe that's the point.
I mean the reality of it is there's so many players in professional sports that there's gonna be people who agree with him, and there's racist people in sports and stuff like that, but those people are smart enough to keep that shit to themselves and not come out and say it. And I don't, it
No,
just,
they say it behind closed doors, and it gets secretly recorded and comes out 10 years
well,
later, and then they lose their
I mean,
franchise.
that's fine too, I guess, but it's just, I just, people are so dumb sometimes. And
Yeah, I don't know. I had a hard time believing that this year was going to go smooth for the Nets, and we're like a week and a half, 2 weeks in, and this, yeah, it's not looking good for them right now.
yeah, yep, I agree. But we kind of touched on this next one a little bit, but the Lakers officially benched Russell Westbrook. He's going to be their sixth man now, which probably makes the most sense for them, as they don't have anybody coming off that bench. They at least get some sort of spark.
It's
But
his ego that I think is hurting the Lakers the most at the moment. Not that I think that they would be like monumentally better, but if he just was like, look, I get where I'm at in my career. I understand what's going on. I'll run the second unit. I'll be the leader of that second unit. I'll come off the bench.
yeah,
I think that team would be they would have at least one win right now.
right. Well, And that's the thing. I don't know if he will be okay with it because of his ego. I just don't know if he'll accept that role because that's what they. Well, I guess that was Harden. I was gonna say that's what they wanted him to do in Oklahoma City, but that was James Harden.
No, so
He,
this
him and Durant
year,
were the starter.
before the season began, it was reported that he was going to be coming off the bench, and he had a
Yeah,
discussion with his coach that like that was the best, and he was going to, you know, captain that second unit. And then he started game one, and people were a little surprised because everyone thought he was going to be coming off the bench. And after that game, during his post interview, he had said something to the effect of like, "Oh, I don't know how I would feel if I had to come off the bench," which led people to believe that coach caved, put him in, you know what I mean?
yeah.
But at this point, it doesn't fucking matter how he feels. Like, you got to
Right.
win
The team
games. Yeah,
sucks,
you've got to win games.
and that team is built as a win now team with
Yeah.
Davis, Westbrook, and LeBron. Like you're not getting younger. So yeah, I don't know. It's a weird situation, but
I say trade everyone, all of them. LeBron
I mean,
included, get all
at
your
this
picks
point,
back,
honestly, why not?
just rebuild, start fresh. Maybe pick up another free agent that's a more team friendly superstar than someone like LeBron James and more reliable than someone like Anthony Davis.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Anthony Davis is the only one I maybe wouldn't trade just because he is a lot younger than the other two. But
No, but he's also had a hard time being on the court, and
oh, for sure,
you don't want that to be your lone superstar if he's not reliable.
that's fair. No, I'm saying if you like packaged LeBron and Westbrook or whatever, sent LeBron one place and Westbrook somewhere else, and did a three-team trade and got another superstar back, I would try to keep Anthony Davis if you could get another superstar in there.
Maybe, yeah. I
But
mean, I could see the point because he's young, but he's just been so frail. Every
oh yeah,
time he falls, you're like, oh shit.
he hasn't played a full season in a long time,
I don't think he's ever
if
played a full
ever.
season in his career.
I'm gonna look it up. I have basketball reference
I
pulled up.
I genuinely don't think he's played a full like. But then again, people just don't play 82 game seasons
Well,
anymore.
no, but if he plays like 75, I'd call it a full year. He, he's played 75 one season. That's his highest career games in
That's
1 year.
that's crazy.
That was 6 years ago.
Yeah, that's why I wouldn't trust that I could keep him healthy. I'm not saying who knows. Maybe he's like Aaron Judge, because Aaron Judge has had
It's
the
that
same.
one good year.
Just
Yeah.
Aaron Judge has had that same issue where he can't stay healthy. That's why we'll get into it maybe in a little bit, but why I'm a little hesitant on my Giants even talking about going after him.
Fair. But
I mean,
yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting because Westbrook is going to have to come off the bench at some point, and then we'll see what his attitude is at that point.
We'll probably see it today or tomorrow. I don't know when they play
And I
next,
was going to say I don't know when their next game is, so
but yeah.
I mean I don't think anybody cares at this point for the.
We'll talk to what's it, Big Boss. He's a Lakers fan. Hell no. Bring him in as a third person here.
Yeah, I'll have to rub it in because Rams lost to the Niners today. The Lakers suck.
Yeah. It's funny. But, all right, let's get to a little bit of baseball news before we talk World Series. A couple hirings have happened. The Marlins hired Skip Schumacher as their manager. He is a first-time manager. He played for 10 years in the majors. And last season, he was the bench coach in St. Louis. I remember Skip Schumacher as a player. Vaguely. Like, the name sounds familiar, essentially. But that's about all I know about him.
So the name for me only sounds familiar, not because of baseball, but because of racing, Formula One racing. Michael
Is
Schumacher.
there a shoot?
Yeah.
I don't follow racing, so
But he used to. He's like one of the like legends of the sport, you would say.
gotcha. Um, yeah, just looking at it, he played 8 years in St. Louis, 2 years in Cincinnati, 1 year as a Dodger. Um,
Dodger.
not terrible. Who's let's see, what position did he play? Outfield and second base,
Okay.
but career 278 batting average. He only hit 28 home runs in 11 years, but whatever.
Not everyone has to be a power hitter.
Right. Based on the number of games played, he spent about 5, maybe 6 years as like a starter.
Oh, okay.
And other than that, he was like a bench player. But yeah, no, I'd probably a good call. I don't know.
I don't know much about
I
him.
always like, I'm all for new guys getting chances. I feel like you just see a rotation of the old heads of coaching just repeatedly just move around from team to team, and
The problem
when
is
they leave, somebody else fills in that same position.
yeah, the only problem is though now all the old heads are like getting too old to actually like physically manage anymore.
True.
Like a lot of these guys are their 70s, 80s.
Yeah. No, that's totally fair, and I'm okay with it because a lot of them are getting really annoying and aren't very good managers in today's baseball.
I mean, arguably one of the last old heads to probably be hired got hired this year, and we'll see how he fares with Bruce Bochy.
Oh yeah, he's not super old though, is he?
No, he's like I think
Like
mid
early
60s.
60s,
I
mid
think he's like
60s.
mid 60s.
Yeah,
He's older, but not like old. But like I mean, mid 60s. You're talking retirement. That's retirement age for most people.
well, okay, but that's fair, but I don't know. Not what I would think of as retirement age as a manager.
Maybe not, but maybe that's part of the problem.
I mean, fair. Yeah, he is 67.
Okay, so he's later 60s.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you've seen LaRussa's out. Um, oh, there was somebody else
Didn't
who got
Madden
fired.
get let go this year? No.
Joe Madden
Yeah.
got let go. Wait,
Was
did he? Was he the Angels coach? Who was?
I I thought that was Angels, no?
You might be right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got fired in the middle of the season. Whoever the Phillies fired was an older guy.
Not LaRussa.
No, that was Chicago. Joe Girardi.
Girardi, yeah.
So, and I think they officially said that they're riding with the guy. I mean, he got him to the World Series, so why not? But their interim guy.
I mean,
They
were I think 5 games under 500 when he took over and are in the World Series. I'd take it.
Yeah.
Even at least on a short term contract, maybe like
Yeah,
2-3
I don't
years.
know what they gave him, but yeah. The other hiring that happened literally like an hour ago, 2 hours ago, is the Royals hired Matt Catraro as their manager. I've never even heard of this guy.
I don't think I have either. The name doesn't
He
sound
was a
familiar.
minor league player for a couple years. Was recently the bench coach in Toronto. This is his first time being a manager as well. This one makes a little. Well, I guess Marlins and Royals make sense to have a younger manager because they both have very young teams. Um, I'm a big fan of that. I still think that's one of the biggest mistakes the White Sox have made was hiring La Russa to manage what is a very young, talented White Sox team.
Normally, I would say hiring old experienced people is usually good, but the times just literally like in the world or like at least in the US have changed so much over the last I would say like 5 to 10 years
Yeah.
that like that's not so much the case anymore.
I also don't know. Like, obviously, pitching changes is very based on feel as far as who's hot right now and stuff. But also, like, there's so many analytics to help out a manager now that you don't really need a ton of experience if you're an analytics guy and can, look at the numbers and kind of figure out what they're saying. Some people look at analytics and can't interpret that into what to actually do in a game, but if you
Fair.
can, then I feel like you can use a lot of that and don't necessarily need as much experience. But it's also always good for guys like this, Schumacher or Catraro to have like, some older guys as like base coaches or bench coach or whatever to give them a little bit of,
That
you know,
old wisdom.
right, some sort of like, hey, maybe you should look at this. but no, I'm always for guys getting a shot, so good for these guys.
I feel
Hopefully
like
they
the
work out.
MLB is better than most sports about getting younger coaches in.
That's fair.
Like in the NFL,
Yeah.
you see a lot of the same names recycled every year.
And when you do get a new guy, it's like the guy's already like 55 and has been an assistant coach for the last 25 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, he's not really new to coaching, just to being a head coach.
Yeah, I mean it's gotten a little better in the NFL the last I don't know 3-4 years, but yeah, you used to see just literally the same like 5 or 6 names every year that were up for like
Yeah.
coaching jobs. Yeah, it got pretty bad for a while.
Yeah. I agree with that. But, all right. Well, let's
Playoff
talk
baseball.
World Series.
Well, we want to make any comments about the championship series.
We can. Yeah. Yeah. So you nailed it, as we talked about before we went live here. You had Astros in 4, Philly in 5. Exactly what happened.
I felt that.
I had it in Astros in 5, Phillies in 6. So I had one game longer. I gave both teams the benefit of the doubt that they'd squeak out one more, but not the case. Yeah. So Astros just tore apart the Yankees. That series wasn't even
It,
entertaining to
it
watch.
wasn't competitive at all. The
Yeah.
Yankees struck out like 50 times or something like that, 51
Yeah.
times or something stupid.
Yeah.
It was
I
insane.
also we kind of mentioned Judge. Like this is going to be, this was the last time Judge was going to be at Yankee Stadium for the season, and their fans started booing him again. This is like the third time in the playoffs.
Did you
Like,
hear the
what?
reports about after that happened that there were like several players that went to their agents and basically said, I know that this is where I'm at right now, but let's start looking at other options because they're just
I
like,
don't
that's ridiculous.
look. Miles Straw for Cleveland came out. This was back when the Yankees fans started yelling like racial slurs at Stephen Kwan when he got hurt, and then they started like throwing beer cans at the Cleveland players and stuff. But so like tempers were high, but he came out and he was like, the Yankees have the worst fan base in all of sports. And I'm like, when he said it, I'm like, it's hard to argue that.
Right?
They don't care about their own players. They will turn on you in a second. If you're not performing right then, they will act like they hated you always. It's like, I don't understand. I understand the history of the Yankees and like going to play there. But if I'm a free agent, I look at these playoffs and I'm like, I don't want to go to that place. Like, you're going to get treated like an away player when you're at home.
Well, and it's really funny because as as a U.S. citizen that has watched baseball my whole life, the Yankees are one of the pinnacle franchises, right? There's like a handful of them. You have the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Giants, the Mets. I would say is probably another one, although they just haven't been good, but they're like an old team.
Yeah.
Right? But so you think you want to play for those franchises, but when you see people come in from overseas, guy super high level prospects from the the drafts and stuff like Otani and Suzuki, none
Yeah.
of them want to play in those big markets
Yeah.
because they see stuff like this, I think, and go, why the hell would I ever want to play there?
Right.
Whereas for us, we're
No,
like,
that's
oh, it's
fair.
the Yankees. But like, they're just like, okay, I don't want to be treated like shit by you dumbasses. Like, I'd rather go to a
No,
small market and have them love me
that's
than.
totally fair. The last one I can remember that did that was um Matsuzaka.
No, Suzuki did it this year.
Oh, well, yeah, but I don't think of the Cubs fans as the same as Yankees
Well, no, but
or
that's what
even
I'm getting
Dodgers.
at. Like, you have a high level
Oh,
prospect come in like
no,
that.
I'm sorry. I meant going to the Yankees.
Mm.
Hideki Matsui.
Okay, okay, you mean like them actually going there, not
Right.
yeah.
Like coming straight from another country and going, from the international pool to the Yankees.
Yeah, I don't think there's been very many, at
And
least
that was
from
a long time
Japan and
ago.
stuff like that. You're maybe from the Dominican, you've had some.
Maybe, but I think most of the Dominican guys go into the draft. They don't go into the like where you can just be a free agent as soon as you get here and
Yeah,
sign with
because
anybody.
that's almost exclusively for like overseas players, if I'm not mistaken.
Overseas, especially Asian and then Cuban players for some reason.
Yeah, so there's that, but I just find that kind of an interesting thing, and I think this is part of what we're seeing with what they're doing to judges. Why you don't see a lot of those guys want to jump at the chance to play for the Yankees.
Yeah. I think it lends a lot of credibility to teams like the Giants coming out and saying, we're going to try to get him and do what we can because
They're not
I
going
don't
to.
think that's fair, but like I don't think he's going back to New York. If you would have asked me before the playoffs, I would have said probably he would have gone back. I don't know if he will after this.
And it's funny because you know what the Yankees fans will say? Oh, he's just weak minded. He
Right.
can't handle it. Like, bro, you had the best player in baseball this year decide you guys sucked. Not the team. You guys sucked.
He's leaving 100% because of the fans if
Yeah.
he leaves.
Like,
Because he's not leaving because of the team, because the team's pretty damn good.
and they're stacked. They have a really good team right now.
Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah, if he leaves, it's because of the fans in the city. It's not because of the team. So
Which is funny because it's usually the other way around.
right, or maybe he wants to grow a beard,
Maybe.
which
Although
is also ridiculous.
I
That
don't
the
know.
Yankees are still doing that.
I can appreciate the tradition, but at the same time, like everything else is you're the only team doing
I hate
it.
it.
Like just
It's dumb.
let it go.
It should have died with the what's his name with the dad that passed away, their owner.
Oh, Steinbrenner. No,
Yeah, yeah,
Steinbrenner.
George Steinbrenner. It should have died with him. That's just a stupid tradition that is just doesn't do anything except put more restrictions on your team from being who they are.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always thought it was kind of dumb. You saw it especially when like Damon went from uh
Oh,
the Red
yeah,
Sox to
for the
New
Red
York,
Sox.
where he had his
Yeah,
freaking hair down to like past his
yeah.
shoulders, and then all of a sudden he comes in the next year.
The Cleveland traded. He played for them most of this year. Quinn Frazier, he's an outfielder,
Okay.
but he was a minor leaguer when we traded him, and he had like hair down to past his shoulders, like super thick curly hair, and like a big giant beard, and he was like all red hair, and they made him just cut it all off when he got there. I'm like, it just doesn't make sense anymore.
It doesn't.
But anyway,
Enough Yankees hate.
uh, yeah. On the other side, Phillies taking out the Padres in 5. Um, that was a surprise to me.
Philly won, I think it was game 3. That was, and I think it was the Friday before our podcast. And that was when I knew they were gonna take it, because that win was so deflated. You could see it in San Diego's face.
I think I messaged you during that game, and I was like, man, San Diego's given everything they got. If they lose this, it's going to be so deflating because they had like a 5-run lead, and then they tied it, and then the Padres went ahead by like 2 or 3 again, and the Phillies came back. It was like they gave everything they had in that game, and they still lost, and it was like, yeah, this one's over.
Yeah, I don't think Philly was the better team, but they were the team that didn't give up.
On paper, definitely not the better team. Outside of Bryce Harper, I would argue San Diego's probably better at every position.
Probably. Well, I don't know, dude. You got Goldschmidt and
No, that's St. Louis.
or St. Louis. No, who was I thinking? Schwarber.
Schwarber's had a pretty good season, but he's just a home run hitter. So
I mean, the playoffs, it's kind of what you need to some extent.
True.
Unless you're Cleveland.
I tried. But yeah, no, Schwarber you could make a case for. I mean, I'd have to look position by position, but
yeah,
probably 1 or 2 starting pitchers maybe could be flipped, but yeah, overall, I mean, San Diego on paper has, I mean, they have double the payroll and probably a significantly better team on paper.
I don't even think it's close, to be honest.
But yeah, I mean, good for Philly. We both said that, you know, after Cleveland got knocked out, Philly was the only team to root for. So,
although I don't know what's gonna happen for them here in the World Series. They're pretty up and down. Game 1 was promising.
Game 1 was huge. Like set the kind of scene, get yourself out ahead. Even if the Astros win game 2, which they did, you still are tied 1-1 going back to Philly. You kind of flipped home field.
Because it's 2-2-1-1-1, right?
Or I believe so.
Because it used to be 2-3-2, and people started bitching that wasn't fair.
I always hated 2-3-2, so I was for it. But let's see. Tomorrow at Philly, Tuesday at Philly. Oh no, it is 2-3-2.
Oh, okay.
Game 5 is at Philly on Wednesday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3 straight days in Philly.
Okay, so then Philly did to them what they did to the Padres. Then they took home field away from them. All they have to do is win at home.
Yeah, Philly hasn't lost at home in the playoffs yet. So
I mean, to be fair though, they gave Houston their first loss of the playoffs.
Yeah. No, I mean fair, but also Houston had only played 4 games up to that point, so like.
No, they played 8, didn't they? They played 2 series.
No, because they had the bye in the first round.
Oh, that's right, because the wild card doesn't count as like an actual round.
No, it does, but they didn't play in it. They didn't play in the wild card round.
Well, yeah, but they would have played in the division round before the championship round.
Wait.
You have wild card, division, championship, World Series.
I think the wild card is the division.
No, the wild card's the wild card.
Oh yeah, wait, who did they play?
That's what I'm saying. Like, you're gaslighting me into thinking I'm crazy. No.
Who did they play?
I'd have to look it up. I don't even remember. They swept them. I don't think it matters.
No, Cleveland knocked out Tampa. Who was the other wild card team?
Hold on.
Toronto? No, Toronto got knocked out in the wild card. By who? Who knocked out Toronto?
Okay, so it was Houston versus Seattle.
That's right.
And they swept Seattle.
A quick one, yeah.
and then they okay.
Okay, all right, that's a little more impressive.
You're trying to tell me they only played 4 games. Could you imagine that, playing 4 games and getting to the World Series?
That would suck. Yeah.
I mean,
Okay,
well, it would
so
suck
they
for
were
the other
7-0.
team.
Yeah. So they were 7-0 going into the World Series.
No, they were
I think
8.
it was best of 5.
Is it best? I thought it was 7 for
Yeah.
division.
Yeah, no, because it was 3-2. The Yankees beat Cleveland.
Oh, okay.
It was 7 in the championship in World Series.
Okay, yeah. So they were
5.
7-0 going into the game 1. So that's
Okay. That's a little more impressive.
You stop that momentum, and because they were just running through everybody.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's big. The Astros pitching rotation is definitely better. I would say after the first one, but really, Austin Nola and Justin Verlander shouldn't really have been that close of a game.
Right.
Verlander was great until he wasn't, and then he just fell off a cliff.
I mean, that's kind of old pitchers, though, just in general, right?
I mean, fair. But yeah, he had like 4 innings where he was unhittable and then just got torched.
I don't know. It's just crazy. But did you see that Verlander has now started game 1 of the World Series? Or started, maybe it's not game 1, but just a World Series game in 3 separate decades now?
Really?
It was 2000. I think it was 2008, 2009, 2012 when they lost to the Giants,
Well,
and
the
then
Tigers, yeah.
and then this year.
I think it must have been game 1 then, because yeah, I think he pitched for the Astros in like 2019 or 18 when they went.
Well, yeah, but that would have been in the last decade.
Right.
Because you got to think this is 2022 now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just saying he would have pitched like 4 times, but
he's starting to become the Vince Carter of baseball.
Yeah.
Just play all he's got to do is make it another 8 years so we could get one more. Because that's Vince Carter. I think it was 4 decades that he played a game in.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Because I think he played like in '89.
Oh, then then I think it would have been 5 decades. Wait, no, I think you're right. And I think he played in 5 decades.
Was it? No. So 90, 2000.
Yeah, I think it was Vince.
No.
89, he made his debut. And
no. That was. I think it was the 90s where Vince Carter came in.
I'm looking it up.
Because I think it was 4 decades he played in. Because he played, I think, up until last year. I think it was like 96 or something like that when he came in.
98.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
He just needs to make it 8 more years. He could get that.
I don't think he's gonna, not without another Tommy John surgery. Oh man, that's funny. All right, let's see. Do you have? I know we're already 2 games in, but let's do a prediction for World Series.
I mean, it's all tied up, so it's not a terrible time to do a prediction. It's still basically 0-0. It's just a 5-game series now.
All right, you go first.
I want Philly to take it, but I think this is probably gonna be. I think it's gonna be Astros in 6.
Okay.
The only caveat, I'll let you go and then I'll make my caveat.
Okay. I'm gonna go against the odds here, and I'm gonna pick Philly in 7. I think they win 2 at home. Maybe alternate. We'll go Philly wins game 3, Astros game 4, Philly game 5. So I'm saying that they're gonna alternate every game of the series, basically.
Okay.
Astros win game 6 in Houston, and then the Phillies close out game 7 in Houston.
So my caveat is if Philly wins tomorrow,
Mm.
I think they could take it in 5.
Oof.
But they,
Oh
well, I
man,
guess,
that is a much bolder
it,
prediction.
but they have to win like decisively tomorrow. It can't be like a nail biter.
Or a
It,
comeback
yeah,
win.
it's got to be like a decisive win, and then I think they might get that momentum back, like they did with San Diego, because it's what happened with San Diego,
Yeah.
and I think they can ride that momentum. I think it's possible, but I think practically it's gonna be the Astros in 6.
It's more realistic.
But my out there prediction would be if Philly can win tomorrow, especially if it's a decisive win, like a 5-0 just straight blanking or a 5-1 just ass whooping, then I think they could get it in 5. Because I think they could get that momentum. They'll start to, people will start being like, well, we just did this to San Diego. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, if they win tomorrow, which I guess is what I'm predicting, but I mean, they would have 2 more games in a row at home, so that is a huge advantage. Especially if it's going to be colder up there. Houston's going to be going up from their dome to like freezing temperatures.
That they're pretty used to.
Yeah, I mean that's a especially in baseball, that's a significant difference. Like trying to hit with cold hands hurts.
It baseball and football, I think, are the two of like the biggest sports when you're talking about just sheer cold weather, how it impacts. 'Cause especially football, when you're hitting each other,
Oh
you
yeah.
feel that in your bones when it's that cold.
Not to mention, I mean, in football, how much harder and slicker the ball is when it's cold. Like
Yeah,
it makes a big difference.
baseball when it's cold, I find that it's more of a dexterity thing that like really
Yeah,
messes with people.
right. Because
Gripping
you
the
do need
balls,
your
grabbing
fingers a
stuff.
lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The ball slipping out of your hand when you hit the bat or hit the ball. Your hands sting from the vibration.
Yeah, I don't. It's gonna be good, but like I said, if they can get a decisive win tomorrow, I think I would take Philly in 5. But I don't think that's gonna happen. Like that's a stretch. Not that they're necessarily gonna win tomorrow, but just that it's gonna play out that way.
Let's see. I'm looking at the weather tomorrow. What did I do?
I don't know. What'd you do?
Oh no, it's gonna rain tomorrow.
Oh God, are we gonna get another rain delay?
I feel like I never remember uh, rained out games in the playoffs, and
You,
there's been like 4 this
you also got to
season.
remember we're also like 3 weeks past or 2 weeks past where the season like normally would have ended
True.
because of the delay
Uh,
for the start of the season.
but yeah, so it's gonna be like 60 degrees and rainy, like right at game time.
Ooh, it's a good temperature. Not so much if it's raining, although Philly winning a decisive game in the rain, that could be fun to watch.
Yeah, it looks like weather is not really gonna be a factor. It's gonna be like probably around 60 at game time on Tuesday, and then mid to high 60s on Wednesday.
Ah, bummer.
So
If the Astros win, the only thing I'm saying is that the only reason I wouldn't care is because that would mean Dusty Baker finally gets a ring, who I think is way long overdue.
yeah,
And Trey Mancini would get a ring, which I think is incredible with where he was like 3 years ago.
yeah, yeah, that's true. I just don't want the Astros to win, but
No, but
you are
I'm
right.
I'm
They are definitely more likely to win.
I'm prepping my cope now. That's all I'm doing.
I'm sure the betting odds are way toward the Astros.
I mean, although, could you imagine that if the Phillies win? Oh, hold on. Let me look at this real quick. Oh no. So the Phillies win, that means the Phillies will have taken out a division winner in Atlanta, a division or not a division winner, but a team that took out a 100-win team. Then they would have to take out Houston, who was they didn't win 100, but they were
100
close.
win.
Were they
Yeah,
100?
they did.
Okay, so they'd have to take out at least 100
I think
win
they got
team,
102.
and they would have taken out one division leader. I guess it's not as impressive as I thought. The teams that they played. It was San Diego that was going to be nuts if they had won, because they would have had to play the Mets in the wild. They played the Mets in the wild card, which was I don't. They didn't get 100. They got like 98 or something like that.
No, the Mets had 101.
Was it? Okay, so they're that's right, because there was like
Braves.
4 teams with 100 wins this year.
So Braves they would have had to beat would have been 101, and then people assume the Dodgers would be there for the Phillies if they would have beaten the first two, and that would have been 111.
Yeah.
And then the Astros actually won 106. So yeah, they would have had to go through 400 win teams. It would have been nuts.
Think about that. It's nuts.
And then, as it stands, they'll still have to go through 3. So, still impressive. Mets, Braves, Astros.
Who? No.
Yeah, Philly beat the Mets in the wild card, Braves in the next round.
No, Philly beat St. Louis in the wild card.
Oh,
that's why I was.
Padres.
It was the Padres that would have had to run
Mets,
the table.
Padres?
Yeah.
Okay.
If it would have been Houston versus San Diego would have had to have taken out the Mets, the Dodgers, and Houston. And if the Braves had made it instead of Philly into the championship, it would have been like you would have had 300 win teams and a division leader you would have had to take out before you got there.
Yeah.
That would have been a nuts playoffs. They were so close.
As it stands, though, the Phillies going in with the worst record in the playoffs for the second year in a row could win the World Series. The worst team in the playoffs could win it. Just goes to show you all you got to do is get in. Baseball more than any other sport.
Which is funny because I always talk about how fun it is watching like football playoffs because it's one game. It's win or go home. Not always the best team doesn't always win. That's just when it's one game. That's just kind of the nature of it. One or two guys have an off day and you're kind of fucked. Baseball, since everything is a series, usually the better team wins. Whether people like to admit that their team wasn't the better team or not is irrelevant. Usually in a series, the better team wins.
Yeah.
But not always. And the last 2 years for baseball have proved that even with how many games they have to play, sometimes the team that's not as good is better.
You just got to get hot at the right time.
I've always loved that saying. It's not about being the best. It's not about being hot. It's about when you get hot.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Something to that effect.
Yeah. Yeah, and baseball, I mean, more than any other sport, I feel like that's true in baseball. But I feel like there's the least amount of upsets in basketball. I feel like it's just, it's almost always one of the top 2 or 3 seeds make the championship in basketball. It's very rare anyone below a 3 seed makes the championship.
I would disagree with that. When you look at the last handful of years, that's not necessarily been the case. Because like when the Warriors made it last year, they were I think a 8 seed. The year before that, Miami was there. They were I think a 6 seed. I'm trying to think. I think there was another team before that had made it recently, but that's like the last 2 years you had 2 teams out of the top 3.
Okay.
But I mean, it's usually within the top half of.
Yeah.
Not always, but usually. I understand what you're saying.
Right. Yeah, I'm just speaking in general, not necessarily recently, just, throughout history, I feel like. But it's also the sport I pay the least amount of attention to, so that could be part of it too.
Well, in the
So,
last like what 2 decades have been locked up by arguably
Spurs,
one
Cavs,
team.
Warriors.
Yeah, two teams and one player.
Yeah.
This is the
I
Spurs, the
mean,
Warriors, and
essentially.
LeBron James.
I mean, that's, yeah, you're pretty much right. It's funny. All right. Let's rate our beers here. Well, I don't know if you want to rate
I
your
mean,
wine
I'll
there.
rate it, but it's
All
not gonna
right.
be super
I'll
high.
put I'll put a asterisk next to it.
Uh,
Yeah. So again, I'm drinking Real Ale Brewery Fresh Kicks IPA or Hazy IPA. It's a decent IPA, but it's not like it's a very standard IPA, I guess. Um,
Nothing special about it.
right. So I'm gonna put it like a let's see, I'll go like a 74.
Okay,
Kind of a middle of the road.
that's actually not a bad score.
No, I mean I would definitely drink more of them. I will finish the 6 pack, but just nothing, not like something I'm gonna go out of my way to buy.
That's fair. All
All
right,
right, what do you got?
I am gonna. Oh, do you need to? Here,
No.
see
All right.
if it is. I'm gonna give it a 68.
Okay.
It's I mean like it's one of the Stella Rosa. They have a bunch of different flavors that are like the kind of cheaper flavored wines that I enjoy them. That's why I buy them. I don't go like out of my way to get them though.
Yeah.
Like if I'm at like Safeway or somewhere and I'm like, we need to grab some for the house because we usually have like a couple bottles just sitting in the fridge
Fair.
because it's always good. Just pop them open when you want, right?
Right. You're like, you know what? I'm really craving a glass of wine with dinner.
So it's good. I drink them fairly regularly, but they're not the most amazing tasting wines I've ever had.
Yeah. I I did say at the beginning that I was like, yeah, I generally tend to like cheaper wines better, but one New Year's Eve, I was in New York. I didn't really know anyone, so I was just chilling by myself on New Year's Eve. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go buy like a cheap bottle of champagne at a grocery store. And I lived in the Hamptons at the time, like working out there. And I was like, I'm gonna go to this nice liquor store. I'm gonna buy this like it was like $95 bottle of champagne. I'm gonna be like, just taste test and see what the difference is. Man, the 95 one was so much better.
Yeah,
It wasn't even close.
I'm not a huge champagne fan. I'm not a huge carbonation fan. So the champagne isn't always my favorite. It also depends on what kind of champagne you buy too. Cuz there's like dry stuff that is really different from like the slightly sweeter, more dessert champagnes.
Right. But yeah, so in general, I like cheaper stuff, but there are definitely some great expensive wines out there, or champagnes, or whatever.
I'm a broke boy. I like my cheap stuff. I'm good.
I mean, same, but
Unless it's
I wanted to
scotch.
experience. Well, of course,
I don't cheap out on scotch.
Cheap scotch is never usually very good.
That's never where it's at. Just don't do it, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, I guess it's not cheap, but like I do like some Jameson.
Some of them are okay. Some of them can be very cheap and not nearly as refined.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the case with almost any brewery or distillery as their, cheap, basic bottles.
Yeah, but I would bet you there's a significant difference from the cheapest bottle of Glenlivet than there is from
Well,
but you
yeah.
know what I mean though. Like
Right,
yeah,
of course, yeah.
is cheap for like their more
Granted,
budget friendly stuff, but there are levels for
yeah.
that.
The cheapest bottle of Glenlivet is also like $40, as opposed to the cheapest bottle of Jameson's like 15.
Yeah.
So, like, if you compare the $40 bottle of Jameson to the $40 Glenlivet, they might be on par.
Yeah, I don't know about
Or,
that.
close.
I don't know.
But
I've never actually
anyway,
had Glenlivet. It's one of the few
I
scotches that
like
I've
Glenlivet.
always wanted to try, and just never think about it when I'm at the store when I get it. I always gravitate towards my Macallan. It's
I
at
mean,
every Safeway,
those
and
are
it's
like,
great go to.
it's Glenfiddich, Glenlivet, and Macallan are like the big ones. Like, it's what everybody who drinks scotch knows.
There's a
But
couple my buddies have told me about over the years that I forget now, but they've always like, "Oh, you gotta try this," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna try that," and then I just always forget.
see, I'll go to the store and I'll have people tell me that, and then I'll go to the store and I'll be like, "Shit, what was the name of that one?" I like won't forget that I wanted to try it, but I'll just forget the name and then I can't buy it. So I'm like, all right, let's get one of the ones I know.
Yeah, you gotta love it. But yeah, the cheap stuff is fun. If you're out there, don't buy super expensive alcohol. It's really not worth it. There is like a limit to where the money just is not worth like the difference.
I will say that I think the difference being things like scotch and whiskey where you sip it and you get like a glass, you can go a little heavier on the money as opposed to things like vodka where you're mixing it. It's like it's not worth it to pay a bunch for good vodka when you're gonna mix it with orange juice or something like.
Unless you're like legitimately know all you're gonna do is take shots of it,
Well, right,
then get the
which
good
I would
stuff because then you don't
never
want to
take
burn
shots
your
of
throat. Oh,
vodka.
I know people that'll down shots
I
and then just sit there with a Red Bull all night and sip on the Red Bull.
I hate straight vodka. I can't.
It tastes like rubbing alcohol to me.
It does.
Well,
It burns
I
so
don't know
bad.
what rubbing alcohol tastes like, but it tastes like rubbing
But
alcohol
like the
smells.
smell, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I know what you mean.
I've
But
never been that desperate. I do know people that have gotten that far, but I've never been that desperate.
yeah, go blind drinking that.
Hey, if it gets it done. I used to know people that drank cough syrup if you drank enough of it. Hey,
Not worth it. I've
desperate.
never wanted to get drunk that bad.
Neither have I, but I was also never afraid as a munchkin to run into a store and grab a 6-pack off the shelf and just run out and hope I didn't get caught.
Oh god.
Hey, come on. Everybody who's drank a good amount has done a beer run at some point in their life.
See, I didn't drink till I was 21, so I never had that.
Oh, see, I started drinking. Oh, dude, I would say I was probably like 13, 14.
I drank
Yeah, probably about 13,
one.
14.
I think I drank one time before I was 21.
Oh, yeah. See, by the
Yeah,
time
I
I
was
hit
like,
21, we went out for my birthday, and that was like, I was just like, okay. Like I was so partied out at that point that I just didn't even care. Like the thing of, oh, you can legally drink now, I was like, cool. I've been going to bars and places and drinking for like the last 3 years.
Right. That's funny, but all right. So next week, I think the World Series. Well, it should be over.
If it
Maybe.
goes 7, I think it's Sunday that it ends, right?
Oh, so that means if it goes 6, that's Saturday probably.
Or no, it would be Monday because you have, well, no, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday would be Philly. Thursday would be day off. Then it would be Friday, Saturday. Yeah, so
Yeah,
it should be over by
Saturday is the
Sunday.
last day if it's 7. Well, yeah. I mean, we could do Sunday again. That's fine.
No, I'd probably rather do Saturday. Or
Okay.
we're gonna play this week by ear, everybody. That way we can. Well, if the series ends early, we'll just be doing it on Friday like we normally do. If it ends on Thursday, or Wednesday. But if not, then we'll wait until
Friday, Thursday, or no, yeah, Wednesday would be the earliest it could end.
Yes. So I don't think it'll end there. I think it'll end either Friday or Saturday.
Most likely.
So we're gonna play it by ear and we'll see. The only way we'll be out live officially on Friday for sure though is if it ends on Wednesday. If Philly goes home and sweeps it home.
Anyway, so yeah, so whenever we do go live, I'm thinking we do our preseason prediction comparison, and then we can kind of go from there.
I'd be down with
We'll
that.
talk World Series, obviously, and then look at our preseason predictions and see how we did.
I'm okay with that. That sounds like a plan.
All right, sounds good.
All right. Anything else you want to throw out? Any other predictions or anything this week? News you want to talk about before we skedaddle?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
All right, everybody. That concludes yet another majestic week of Bases and Brews. If you guys want to check us out live, we record this live on YouTube now every Friday, typically, but with the World Series and everything, we've been on a little bit of a weird schedule. Every Friday, though, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Come by, check us out live. You can pop in, chat. If not, these videos, I think, go up the day after where they're available for everyone to view. So if you don't catch us live, go ahead, check out some of our videos. Give them a thumbs up if you like them. Leave us a comment telling us if you think we're stupid. We're okay with that. Any engagement is good at this point.
Accurate.
But have a good week, everybody, and we'll see you next week for the end of the World Series, and we'll see who's crowned champion.
Later on.